you please present,
Anybody
would you
before
please introduce
August?
the present and past Grand Lodge officers in attendance this
When's your
evening?
birthday? Will you forget? May, you're gone. Me too, you're gone. George? Your birthday. You got it.
Worshipful Master, Most Worshipful Grand Master, Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, Right Worshipful District Deputy Grand Master, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends of Freemasonry, my brethren all, good evening.
Good evening.
In addition to the brethren previously introduced, it is my privilege and pleasure to introduce the following present and past Grand Lodge officers in attendance this evening. Kindly hold your applause until all introductions are complete. Right Worshipful Andrew G. Cherney, Secretary to the Grand Master, Grand Lodge Trustee. Right Worshipful Jack A.E. Ford, Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 12th Masonic District, Grand Lodge Trustee. Right Worshipful H. Whalen Packer, Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 21st Masonic District, Grand Lodge Trustee. Right Worshipful Glenn T. Bishop, Past Grand Marshal 2011, Grand Lodge Trustee. Right Worshipful Mark E. Carl, aide to the Grand Master. Right Worshipful Dieter B. Hees, Grand Orator. Right Worshipful John R. Bradshaw, Senior Grand Deacon. Right Worshipful Michael A. DeMuro Jr., Senior Grand Steward. Right Worshipful Vincent E. Essel, Junior Grand Steward. Right Worshipful James D. Troyinski, Grand Pursuivant. Right Worshipful William J. Krasson, Grand Historian. Right Worshipful Robert V. Monticelli, Grand Soloist. Right Worshipful Matthew D. Kaufman, Grand Organist. Right Worshipful Donald R. Tuttle, Grand Organist. Right Worshipful Michael J. Carducci, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Frank J. DiGilio, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Gary E. Dorworth, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Ed Flores, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Louis D. Rizzo, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Corey Siegler, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Roy G. Stampavian, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Walter A. Seary Jr., Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Bernard N. Spence, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Howard J. Stevenson, Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Thomas W. Murphy, District Deputy Grand Master of the 1st Masonic District. Right Worshipful J. Douglas Stanton, District Deputy Grand Master of the 2nd Masonic District. Right Worshipful Thomas L. Winter, Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 4th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Roger Quintana, District Deputy Grand Master of the 5th Masonic District, Masonic Charity Foundation Vice President. Right Worshipful Christopher S. Bellata, District Deputy Grand Master of the 8th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Michael Holt, District Deputy Grand Master of the 10th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Neil A. McCarthy, District Deputy Grand Master of the 11th Masonic District. Right Worshipful P.J. Eamon, District Deputy Grand Master of the 14th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Dale A. Lynch Jr., District Deputy Grand Master of the 18th Masonic District, Past Grand Marshal, 2010. Right Worshipful Henry P. Hankfratz, District Deputy Grand Master of the 19th Masonic District. Right Worshipful J. Philip de Vinagrazia, District Deputy Grand Master of the 20th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Grady D. Young Jr., District Deputy Grand Master of the 21st Masonic District. Right Worshipful A. Kenneth Novikov, District Deputy Grand Master of the 23rd Masonic District, Secretary to the Grand Master, 2014. Right Worshipful Bruce S. Graham, District Deputy Grand Master of the 24th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Lynn Klaus, District Ritual Instructor of the 1st Masonic District. Right Worshipful Michael T. Berkser, District Ritual Instructor of the 2nd Masonic District. Right Worshipful Kenneth E. Wasowitz, District Ritual Instructor of the 4th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Freddie R. Nunez Jr., District Ritual Instructor of the 5th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Jose E. Violta, District Ritual Instructor of the 8th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Douglas A. Patrick, District Ritual Instructor of the 10th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Bradley K. Horn, District Ritual Instructor of the 14th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Carl B. Jacobson, District Ritual Instructor of the 15th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Gary J. Olson, District Ritual Instructor of the 17th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Robert W. Hurtneck Jr., District Ritual Instructor of the 18th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Kevin D. Bunting, District Ritual Instructor of the 19th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Ronald D. Miller, District Ritual Instructor of the 21st Masonic District. Right Worshipful Kirk A. Carr, District Ritual Instructor of the 22nd Masonic District. Right Worshipful James C. Gall, District Ritual Instructor of the 23rd Masonic District, Masonic Charity Foundation Trustee, in memoriam. Right Worshipful William H. Marsden, District Ritual Instructor of the 24th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Montgomery M. Barry Jr., Past Grand Lodge Trustee. Right Worshipful Gennaro Adesso, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful William J. Berrybrook, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Frank L. Blade Sr., Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Jeffrey R. Chan, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Edmund Costa Jr., Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Kenneth A. DeBlue, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Charles W. Gray, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful James T. Hamilton, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful John S. Hawk, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Richard T. Jackson, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Bruce F. Caligera, Past Grand Chaplain, Secretary to the Grand Master, 2016. Right Worshipful Ian P. Corman, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Harry S. May III, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Joseph T. Mazzina, Past Grand Chaplain, Masonic Charity Foundation President. Right Worshipful Kyle L. Nurge, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Armand C. Carino, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Drew Pentello, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Russell J. Butler, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Edgar A. Skip Schmidt, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Gary A. Stois, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Bernard E. Triano, Past Grand Chaplain. Right Worshipful Ronald A. Murad, Past Secretary to the Grand Master. Right Worshipful Robert K. Peterson Sr., Past Secretary to the Grand Master. Right Worshipful Charles Sakalis, Past Secretary to the Grand Master, Past Grand Lodge Trustee. Right Worshipful Robert N. Stutz, Past Secretary to the Grand Master. Right Worshipful Patrick C. Weisgerber Sr., Past Secretary to the Grand Master. Right Worshipful Dennis M. Huey, Past Senior Grand Deacon. Right Worshipful Richard H. Trout, Past Senior Grand Deacon. Right Worshipful William J. Anderson, Past Senior Grand Steward. Right Worshipful William T. Costello Jr., Past Junior Grand Steward. Right Worshipful Andrew S. Jardine, Past Junior Grand Steward. Right Worshipful Alex S. Daycack, Past Grand Pursuivant. Right Worshipful Daniel J. Schultz, Past Grand Historian. Right Worshipful Richard E. Anderson, Past Grand Title. Right Worshipful the Rick G. Robbins Sr., Past Grand Title. Right Worshipful David R. Tweed Sr. Past, Grant Tyler, Secretary to the Grand Master, 2015. Right Worshipful Leonard Vanderwarm. Past, Grant Tyler. Right Worshipful G. Roger Goodman. Past District Visual Instructor of the 17th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Patrick H. Capel. Past District Visual Instructor of the 21st Masonic District. Right Worshipful James H. Vanderveer. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 1st Masonic District. Right Worshipful Charles R. Hashagen. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 2nd Masonic District. Right Worshipful John R. Margroff. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 2nd Masonic District. Right Worshipful Frank J. Nemeth. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 2nd Masonic District. Right Worshipful George A. Olson. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 2nd Masonic District. Right Worshipful Joseph G. Amara. Past District Deputy Grand Master of this, the 3rd Masonic District. Right Worshipful George T. Barnard IV. Past District Deputy Grand Master of this, the 3rd Masonic District. Right Worshipful Richard F. Schmidt. Past District Deputy Grand Master of this, the 3rd Masonic District, Masonic Charity Foundation Trustee. Right Worshipful Joseph J. Kubik. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 4th Masonic District. Right Worshipful George McKinnon. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 4th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Gregory J. Scott. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 5th Masonic District, Masonic Charity Foundation Trustee. Right Worshipful Stephen P. Wolfson. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 5th Masonic District, Historic Trenton Masonic Temple Trustee. Right Worshipful George H. Heflick Jr. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 8th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Brian F. Johnson. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 8th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Frederick I. Waldron. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 8th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Brian H. Blades. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 14th Masonic District. Past Grand Marshal, 2000. Right Worshipful George T. Flash Gordon. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 14th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Bruce R. Conley. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 15th Masonic District. Right Worshipful Warren J. Coles. Past District Deputy Grand Master of the 22nd Masonic District. Right Worshipful David A. Gladstone. Past Grand Marshal, 1998. Right Worshipful Keith Grazer. Past Grand Marshal, 2004, Historic Trenton Masonic Temple Trustee. Right Worshipful Paul M. Ferreira. Past Grand Marshal, 2008. Right Worshipful Arnold T. Butch Elliott Jr. Past Grand Marshal, 2012. Right Worshipful Henry J. Stein. Past Grand Sword Bearer, future Grand Marshal, 2016. Right Worshipful Jane U.T. Margroff. Past District Ritual Instructor of the 2nd Masonic District, future Grand Marshal, 2015. Right Worshipful John P. Dyer. Past Grand Sword Bearer, the next Grand Marshal.
The Grand Marshal of the Grand